you for joining us. I'm Al Mills of Rough Trade, and I'm going to be your compere for the evening. Tonight, we are super excited and privileged to present an intimate live stream Q&A session welcoming Mogwai to this Rough Trade Zoom webinar. The legendary group will soon be on your screen and in conversation with our very special guest host for the evening, novelist Ian Rankin. Our guests are here for an in-depth conversation celebrating the release of As the Love Continues, the new album from Mogwai released last Friday on Rock Action. Now, before I hand over to Mogwai and Ian, I'll quickly explain how tonight's event will work. For the first section, our guests will be on screen and in conversation for about 45 minutes. Mogwai and Ian will then switch to audience questions for about 15 minutes. You can submit your audience questions via the chat feed bar on the bottom of your Zoom screen at any time during the event. Please keep your questions short and concise, and please type them on the Zoom chat feed to be read out on your behalf. We'll do our best to ask as many questions as possible, but please do be patient. Anyway, that's without further ado. I'm going to hand it over to our special guests now, introducing Mogwai and Ian Rankin.
Thanks very much. My name's Ian Rankin, and I'm here to try and interview Mogwai, and they are slowly joining my feed. It's been a long, hard week for the guys. They've been promoting the new album ruthlessly, we might say, relentlessly and well, because as I speak to you, guys, #1 best-selling album in the UK.
Mm-hmm. Unbelievably, yes.
Yeah, it's wild.
Been a long time coming.
Aye. It's just
I saw an interview recently with who was it? I think I forget who it was with now, and it described you as being mainstream underground. Is that a pretty? I mean, how's that?
I'm okay with that, but I have to be honest. I mean, the rest of the band will probably tell you this, but I'm a really optimistic person, probably to an annoying level. And I wasn't prepared for this. It's so mental.
You're just unrealistic.
I didn't even know what it was. See, when Craig sent it to me, I was like, what is that? And I knew what it looked like, but I just presumed it was, I don't know, the Glasgow chart or something.
Pitchfork chart. So, I mean, folks watching us at home, a couple of hundred of them, we've got Stuart Braithwaite from the band, guitars, vocals, got Barry Burns, keyboards, guitar, a wee bit of vocals occasionally. We've got Dominic Aitchison on bass down there in his garage, he tells me, although it looks like a wonderful book-lined library to me. I love it. And then in his kitchen, from his kitchen with his minimalist shelves behind him, Martin Bullock, drummer. And this version of the band has been around for a long time now. Huh?
Yeah, over
99. You joined Barry on it?
22 years.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean that'd be about right, because I think it's about 25 years since your first single came out, and I know Barry, you joined shortly thereafter. So yeah, 20 odd years, man. How come you've not fallen out yet?
Love each other so much.
It's going to happen in the next hour, Ian.
Is it because maybe it's because Barry spends so much time in Germany?
No, yeah, we were all living in the same house until I moved away. So,
like a lot of people, I watched. I mean, I'm sure a lot of folk out there watching this. I watched your gig from the tramway to launch the album, and what I love is all the chat. You know, Dominic and Martin just giving it plenty. Chat with the audience. Would that be fair to our bass and drums unit here?
That's what we do. Partner machines, just non-stop. So many anecdotes.
We need to get Brendan back.
Oh man.
What was it like filming that gig, Martin?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? We were well rehearsed, I suppose, and we got a couple of goes each at doing the songs, so that was all right.
Was it? I mean, it looked like it was recorded almost as live, Dominic. Was it, or was there lots of gaps between the songs?
Yeah, no, there was definitely set up between each tune, and we did mostly to attempts at doing every song. Some required more than 2 attempts, but
whose fault was that? Whose fault was that, Dominic?
I would say we were all equally to blame. No, it was quite nerve-wracking because we hadn't played in a while, and even though we rehearsed a lot, we were quite out of practice, and it's the longest we've ever gone without actually touring, and so it's quite weird. The muscle memory doesn't kick in.
I'd forgotten how to play guitar standing up because I hadn't played standing up because I always play sitting down in rehearsal. I'm so lazy and recording, and then as soon as we start, I just realised that I just felt really weird and like my wrist was really sore, and I just realised I hadn't played the guitar standing up for over a year.
So, I mean, take us. The gig started off with a nice wee bit of kind of documentary footage of the album being put together and the production, the way it was sort of produced and that. But I mean, some people might be going, what was going on there? So maybe talk us through that a wee bit. Barry, can I start with you? I mean, because this was an album that was, I guess, conceived and produced during the lockdown.
Yeah. So we actually, I wouldn't say luckily, but it was good that we had a lot of time to spend writing the album. And I was pretty much going to my studio every day, just doing a bit of work. Obviously, with all the kindergartens shut in Berlin and everywhere else, that my wife and I had to sort of share time looking after our kids. So you were much more precious with your time and economical with it to go and do as much work as possible in such a short space of time as 3 or 4 hours a day. But it actually worked to our benefit. And I was saying to someone the other day that it's kind of good that the album recording got pushed back a little bit, because I don't think it would have been anywhere near as good if we'd recorded it when we were supposed to record it, which I think was April or something, was it? I can't remember now.
May.
Was it May? Yeah. So it was kind of fortuitous that we got a bit more time to do as much work as possible before we recorded it.
You changed a few of the songs, didn't you, in that time?
I did. There was a bit of I think Stuart did the same. There's a bit of reworking done. When you get much more time to sit with a song than you normally would have, you can sort of see the faults in it and go back and fix them. So
there was a few songs as well that we hadn't been planning to put on the record, and we had shared all of the demos amongst ourselves because we weren't together, but also with Dave Fridman. And there was a couple of the songs that ended up on the record that we had kind of forgotten about, really. And Dave kind of said he really liked them. And that was the other good thing about that in relation to this project, quite good thing about the circumstance last year, that you literally had all the time in the world because you weren't allowed to go and do anything, So kind of revisited a few songs as well. So as Barry said, yeah, the extra time was really handy.
Did you have to discuss with Dave Fridman, your producer, look, can we make this work? How do we make this work? Was it your idea, his idea, that you could still work together even with him in the States and you in Worcestershire?
I think he wanted to. I wasn't sure it was possible, but I think with technology, it clearly was possible, and we were all still happy to have Dave involved because we're all fond of him, and I think he's done a great job with other records we've done before. But the whole Planet's plans last year just got torn up, and with this record, everything seemed to just be changing almost by the day when things were happening, how we were doing it. And it never felt really certain until we got down to the studio in England and we were all setting up and playing. That was like, well, right, this is totally happening. Even the travel and stuff, we were all kind of stressing about just before we all went, and everything was pretty uncertain.
So if anyone's seen the footage at the start of the documentary, or even if you've got the special edition box set and you've seen the photographs in there, there are pictures of you guys wearing masks in the recording studio. Now, look, I've got to ask, that's just patter for the cameras, right? Martin?
No. Oh, Martin, on you go.
Don't tell me you were wearing a mask while you were drumming. You must have been puffing like hell, man.
I was doing it at the BBC the other day as well. It's not fun.
Ian Brown was in the comments calling you all sorts.
Well, that's part of the course. Wait till you get your vaccine. Talk us through it a wee bit, Dominic. You're in a studio in England. You've got an engineer with you, Tony Dugan.
Yeah.
And is he kind of liaison between you and the actual producer, Dave, who's in the States?
Yeah, pretty much. We would start like about 10 o'clock in the morning and just try and power through to about dinner time. But no, we could do that because we obviously of the time difference. So we'd start about 3 in the afternoon, and then Dave would come on over Zoom, and he just gets a broadcast of what we're doing live into his studio, and I was quite surprised with how seamless it was. I thought this is going to be dreadful. There's no way it's going to work, and it seemed to work fine. So he's there giving you the same sort of direction or advice that you would normally do, and he was absolutely roasting Tony about drum sounds. So Tony's having to spend about 3 hours on about trying to get the drums sounding the way Dave wants it. But do you know what? It worked. I think when you've got no choice but to get on with it, you'll make it work, and it totally worked fine. So.
I mean, is it something you could consider in the future, that you could save the planet by not flying everywhere and just, make your album remotely?
Yeah.
I think we could definitely do it again.
Yeah. I don't think it was ideal, but it was definitely, it hasn't, number 1 in the charts.
Number 1 in the charts. And if anybody out there, of course, you've already got the album, but if you're thinking about a Christmas present for your granny, get her off the ceiling and get her a copy of this album. Get these young, impoverished Glaswegian men to number 1. Number 1 until at least Friday. How lovely would that be?
Aye. It'd be nice. Unusual.
It would be unusual. I mean, how does it feel to be an overnight success in 25 years?
You've been saving that up, haven't you?
People ask me that all the time.
Aye, we're getting old. This is a great time.
What do you think it is? Because I've been coming to your gigs for a long time, and I've seen you go from filling the Queen's Hall in Edinburgh, which is probably 800 to 1,000 people, to comfortably filling the Hydro in Glasgow, which is considerably more people. I mean, you've climbed that ladder by degrees, and it's been fascinating to watch it. What has happened? Are people just latching onto the fact you've always been good? Is there a kind of audience who's suddenly going, oh, that's the kind of music I want to listen to? Have you changed the kind of music you think you make? What is it? Let's go with Stuart.
I don't think we've changed the music that we make. I think in Scotland, people's attitude towards us has changed a lot. I think for the first few years of the band, people thought we were total chances, and I think it's got to the point where a lot of people have kind of grown up with us, and people's attitude towards us has really changed, and that's been really noticeable. In other places, I think it's just maybe the fact that new people find out about our music. I think that people that like our music are really loyal, and then new people find out about it. You always can see people of a lot of different ages and stuff at our shows. So,
could it be that in some ways, maybe a small way, but Barry, do you think maybe the fact that you're doing a lot of soundtrack work now has brought you a wider audience?
It might have done. A few of those things have done quite well, and you can always see on Twitter and stuff that people are asking about us from the soundtracks that we've done. So there's probably a bit of interest in our sort of, non-extracurricular or curricular work as well. But, yes, I don't know. I'm hoping, pretty much.
Because I think this your latest soundtrack, I guess, is 000, which is a big hit at the moment on, is it Netflix? I think. There's an expansiveness to some of the soundtrack work, and the early albums could be heavy and they could be quite claustrophobic. They were really intense, and I think there has been a kind of, I'm not going to say you're mellowing in your old age, But there has been an opening out. The soundscape seems to me to have got more expansive, and I just wondered if that might be something to do with the soundtracks.
Maybe it might be. I think we'd been wanting to do soundtracks for quite a long time, so it was kind of seemed to kind of make sense. It's a weird thing to be a musician and put yourself in a position where people can tell you what to do when you've been kind of fighting your whole life to avoid that. But it's good. It's quite challenging, definitely.
I think the first one you did was Zidane, wasn't it?
Yeah. That was already left us alone. We could do whatever we wanted with that.
It gave us quite an incorrect experience of what making a soundtrack was actually like. We thought, this is fine. This is no problem. It's just like making an album, and then the next one, like, holy shit. You've actually got to do what people tell you.
And for those who don't know, it's basically a 90-minute film about Zidane running around the football pitch.
Pretty much, yeah.
In fact, it's about 85 minutes because he gets sent off, doesn't he, towards the end?
Aye.
Thank God he didn't play extra time.
No, we'd run out of music.
It's one of the most extraordinary sports films I've ever seen. I saw it in the cinema. I think you guys were there. It was the Edinburgh launch of it, I think, and it was just, even for someone who doesn't, know much about football, hundreds of cameras all trained on this one guy. Every move he makes, nobody else in the field is shown at all, I don't think. It's just all on Zidane, and then there's this music playing constantly. It's quite an immersive event and fascinating. It told me quite a lot about the guy. It told me quite a lot about him.
He's a Bampot.
Did you get to meet him?
No.
We were meant to, but it was the World Cup, wasn't it? He was meant to go to the big. Me and Martin went over to like a big fancy showing of it at Art Basel. I think we get paid to DJ, and we played about 3 records. But money per record worked out quite well. But he was meant to go to that. Did some guy not go in his place that was like some famous athlete, but I didn't know who he was, Martin? Do you mind that guy?
I remember meeting all the Real Madrid glitterati and stuff like that. But no.
Wait, so they sent a stand-in for Zidane at it?
Well, he went to represent him. I think he's one of his really good friends, like a really famous.
Imagine we did that. Just like, well, we can't make the gig tonight, so my pal James is going to play my keyboard parts. that's tight.
Listen, let's get back to the new album. It's a hugely enjoyable album. It's very coherent and all the rest of it. It's got your usual, to me. I mean, as a guy who lives for words, the first thing I do is look at the titles of the songs and go, why the hell is that called that? So could you maybe help a poor wordsmith out here with some of them? I mean, Ceiling Granny, give me it.
Exorcist.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen The Exorcist 3?
I think I gave up on The Exorcist after 2.
It's rubbish, that's why. 3's amazing.
No, 3's not rubbish. 3's good.
No, 2's rubbish.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were just... I thought I was going to have to go mental there.
No, don't go mental. I love the Ceiling Granny as much as you do.
By the way, can I just point out that Exorcist 2 is a rubbish film, but Ennio Morricone's score
is amazing.
One of the best things of all time.
Yeah. Which is like being re-released, I think, at the moment. It's just coming
out. It has, coloured vinyl. It sounds like Slayer playing the Muppets or something like that. It's absolutely mental. But yeah, in The Exorcist 3, this total spoiler here, but the scariest, in fact, it was not a spoiler because you'll be so worried about it happening, it'll increase your enjoyment. But he's in a psychiatric hospital and he thinks everything's all right, but it's not all right because there's an old lady climbing along the ceiling, and we were watching it. We were watching it in the studio, and then every time anyone went to the toilet, they'd be like, "Oh, have I missed the ceiling granny? Have I missed the ceiling granny?" And yeah, that's the kind of level of intellect that goes into our song titles. We pretty much wrote it down and used it.
Yeah,
I would love to read something deeply philosophical into all this. That what you're saying is that song titles are a nonsense, and you can call a song anything. It's not that you're trying to drum up a certain atmosphere with the title you give to the track.
We almost had a song called Taxi Jazz.
That's what we did. Just got chucked out at the last moment, didn't it? Taxi Jazz.
What about this opening track here? Here's the album for those who've not seen it yet. Everybody's seen it. To the
you'll
bit, my
like
friend,
this.
tonight we vacate Earth.
You will like this. This actually has some substance to it, and it involves someone you know. You know Ben Power?
Blank Mass.
Yes.
Yeah.
He talks in his sleep. And he
I
started.
wouldn't know that, and I want to know how you know that.
He tells me about it. And he started recording all the things. And the actual voice at the start of the album is Ben saying that in his sleep in a weird Shakespearean voice that he doesn't speak in normally. And another thing he said in his sleep was Ian Brady the musical and Shipman on Ice.
We've bookmarked that one for another song as well.
Yeah, that's a
Alan
split
Partridge
single.
come to life. That's bizarre.
So it's like a really dark funky tennis.
I think I'm right in saying the last gig I saw before the lockdown was Blank Mass in Edinburgh. I think it was sort of early March last year. He'll put me right on
Summer
that.
Hall.
Yeah, Summer Hall.
Yeah.
And he was supported by 2 drag artists, one of whom jumped off the 6-foot-high stage and did the splits on the floor, which was an extraordinary moment in my musical education.
Ben is a big Drag Race fan. He's into drag culture. Yeah.
So I was slightly sad when the gig started at the tramway not to see him walk onto the stage and actually do his wee bit.
He was sleeping.
He found out
classics.
He found out there was no rider.
Oh, that's harsh. All right.
That's pretty brutal. That is.
I'm only teasing.
I mean, I don't know. Do you guys, Martin? Here's a question for you. Do you guys live to make albums, or do you live to play gigs? What's your preference?
I think I like the gigging part of it more. I find recording really stressful, but I know Barry and Stuart like. Well, maybe not Stuart.
No, I like gigs
Barry
better.
likes recording, don't you?
No, I prefer the gigs as well.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. I think it's maybe different with a soundtrack. I quite enjoy the stress of the soundtrack stuff. Eventually, it's really stressful, and it seems to get me writing stuff. So I suppose it's all for the greater good. But I much prefer to play shows than be in a studio.
Well, you start a band, innit? Play gigs.
Aye. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but you see that flags up the fact this must have been a really hard year for you then, with no live gigs at all.
We kind of taken a year out anyway to do the record, and we'd had a year out before that as well, just because we'd been hammering it live quite a lot. So, I mean, this will be the longest we've ever done, isn't it? Without a proper show.
When we start touring again, we'll be totally shite.
There's your headline.
Just getting the buzz there. Get the buzz going.
Have they given you any dates in mind for when you might start a tour?
We got an offer for a gig in August, but I think as soon as we're allowed, we'll do something. We'd been planning to. We'd had a run of shows in the Highlands and Islands, which were one of the first things we had to cancel, and it'd be great to go back and do them as soon as.
I've got a place near Strathpeffer. They were very much looking forward to you up there.
Yeah, no, it would have been great. So I'd love to do that. I'd imagine we'll probably be able to do that kind of thing, and maybe the festival start late summer. Who knows? It's the same with everything. It's just wait and see, though.
Yeah, I mean, I know some sort of promoters are thinking it will be the summer at the earliest, and they're just hopeful that by then. I mean, they're looking into things like a vaccine passport that will get you through the door, that kind of thing. Whatever it takes to actually get a live audience back again without the horror of social distancing.
Yeah,
it's weird. I went to see Free Love played a socially distanced gig in Glasgow last summer, which was great just to see people on a stage playing music, but it was pretty weird. It was kind of picnic tables about 10 feet apart, and only 2 people at a table, and it was great, and it was brilliant just to see people play, but it definitely, you kind of really miss just tons of folk inside a room watching people,
Barry, talk us through some of the guests on this album. You got some intriguing wee guest appearances.
Yeah, so Colin Stetson, who I think we all discovered through watching Hereditary, the terrifying film that the band made me watch, and his soundtrack. Well, and I think I guess maybe Stuart knew him somehow. I don't know, but anyway, we asked him to do something on Pat Staines. I can't say these song titles seriously still, and because we'd worked with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross on the Before the Flood soundtrack, still had his email address, so bugged him when we were kind of halfway through the song recording, I think, or I can't remember, but it just needed something else, and I thought it might be a good shout to give him an email and see if he would be interested to do something, and he was really up for it. Like, he worked super. I think he was actually working on that film music for that Soul, that Disney film at the same time, because he was talking about this other film that he was doing, and so he took some time out of that to help us out with Midnight Flit. So,
wow,
yeah.
I think
Contacts.
I know Colin Stetson. I think I first came across him when he was working with Tom Waits.
Yeah.
He's done a couple of Tom Waits albums, and then of course he was with Arcade Fire.
Yeah, I think that's how I'd heard of him through that, and then the horror film. But, yeah.
And tell me about the fifth member of the band who I saw at the Tramway playing keyboards and guitar.
Well, Alex.
Yeah,
Alex is great. He doesn't record with us; he just tours with us. But yeah, he's really, really, really good. He is disgustingly young, but there's nothing we can do about that.
He told us something horrific. Like I think he was 2 when Young Team came out, and he told us this when we were on tour on the bus, and just total silence when he said it. We were crushed.
2.
I know.
It's
shocking,
isn't it? I know.
I mean, I meant to ask you this: is it the concert film, the Tramway film? Do you think we'll see it in any other way, shape, or form in the future? I mean, was it as far as
probably
one-off?
Probably, because people did ask about it. The footage at the start is part of a filming that we've been doing towards some kind of documentary that was meant to be based around the 25th anniversary of the band. And Anthony, who made it and made the Tramway film, was going to come up to the Highlands with us and all that stuff. And obviously all those plans, like everything, got torn up. But he's still got all that stuff for the film. So if there was a DVD of the documentary, it would make sense to put the gig on it as well. So I'd like that to happen. And let's say Anthony did a great job. He'd never done anything like that, like editing a concert film together. So he was kind of like, I think it was a pretty intense experience for him, but yeah, he definitely pulled out the bag.
I mean, I think, given the restrictions, given the fact that you were shooting it in an empty, sort of basically an empty hall and everything, I think he did an amazing job.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know how many cameras he had at his disposal. There's one of my favourite shots actually is when Martin, I think the camera starts off really right in front of your face and then draws back over your drums and just keeps on going. It's a phenomenal shot.
Yeah, he's done a good job.
And he's actually, I know he's interviewed a lot of folk for your documentary because he interviewed me. I don't know if that's come as a surprise to you or not.
No, I knew about that. He loved your interview. Did you not say something about Douglas Gordon's tattoo or something? He was really taken by a quote that you said that Douglas has a tattoo of.
Douglas has got a lot of tattoos. That are mostly, I've not seen all of them by any stretch of the imagination.
I have.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Douglas Gordon, the artist, Glaswegian, went to Glasgow School of Art, also directed or co-directed Zidane, the film that Mogwai did their first soundtrack work for. He's got a lot of quotes on his body from a book called Memoirs and Confessions of a Justified Sinner. He's completely obsessed with that book and the guy who wrote it, James Hogg. So yeah, there's probably something to do with that, about the Caledonian antisyzygy, which is the kind of being where extremes meet, being Jekyll and Hyde in the same person. It's a very Scottish thing in a lot of Scottish literature, and maybe I was saying that I also feel it in your music. How's about that? That's his BBC tours we're going to get tonight, folks. Don't worry, the nub gags are coming. Richie. What's that? Richie Sacramento. How did that title come about?
That came from our pals being total grasses and telling us that their boss had said that instead of Ryuichi Sakamoto.
Yeah.
In a record shop.
Is there not? John Robb in an interview alludes to the fact that there's some kind of story to do with the Silver Jews.
Well, actually, the lyrics of the song, yeah, well, that started. I'm really generally pretty unprepared, and that song was always going to have lyrics, but I hadn't written them. And I saw this Facebook post that Bob from Pavement put about his friend Dave Berman. I think it was on Dave's birthday, like the year after he died, and he was telling this story about when they were students and Dave chucking a shovel at a sports car. And that's the first line of the song is what Dave said, as remembered by Bob, "Rise, crystal spear," as he threw it. And I just thought that was really poetic. And Dave Berman was a poet and an amazing songwriter, amazing musician, and good guy. Didn't know him very well, but enjoyed his company anytime I did. And yeah, so I kind of used that as a starting point for the lyrics of the song.
Cool. I mean, Rise Crystal Sphere, nothing like a spear.
What's that?
Did you say crystal sphere or spear?
Oh, spear.
Ah, okay. I heard it as sphere, and I'm going, no, that's nothing like that. Okay.
That's Dave,
I am,
Dave.
by the way, I'm glad you guys don't have much in the way of lyrics in your songs, because I am a terror for what are called mondegreens. Mondegreens, for the listeners at home, are misheard lyrics.
Oh, Barry's wife is pretty good at these as well.
Yeah, my wife's got
some
lots of
belters.
them.
I love your style.
Let me take you to the kitchen. Let you show you.
Sulole.
Paint your bag brighter.
Yep. So, well, I kissed this guy. Somebody put together a whole book of these, and I thought,
Oh,
hey,
good.
You could do that. A book of Mondegreens.
You know, I always wondered, because quite often when we've got to play a gig, I can't remember the lyrics of the one song I've usually got to sing every night. And I'll go and look at the lyrics on the internet, and there's always a bit that's wrong. And I always thought it was because people didn't know it. But apparently these internet lyric sites, they always have a bit wrong, so they don't have to pay any copyright.
Oh, smart.
Oh. I'll let you in a secret. When they made dictionaries always had one fake description in a dictionary, so that if somebody bootlegged a dictionary, you could prove it.
Really?
I think I've heard that, but yeah, I think that's a Reddit thing. I've heard that before. Yeah. Weird.
Somebody, I apologise. Somebody says, I've lost all sound, just a script at the top of the page saying Dominic is talking. No, that must be fake. I don't think so. Here's a question for you. Hang on, let me see if who's this question from? It's a good one. I can't see who it's from now. Trey, I think Trey. There's a lot of interest surrounding vinyl reissues and sets. Will Rock Action Happy Songs see reissues? Also, is there a chance of a better US merch store? Would love some teas and such official from the band. So there you go. Any vinyl reissues and sets in the works?
Rock Action's one that we've been planning for a long time. But it's quite complicated. It's not just like 3 extra tracks. It's almost like we'd have to compile another album. And we also recorded every gig from that tour. So we've got like boxes of DATs. So if we were to do it properly, we'd have to like really immerse ourselves in it. But I think we do want to do it. I'm guessing it would probably be early next year now, but we would do it. Happy Songs. I don't know if there's that much extra stuff, is there? Maybe a couple of songs.
Not that I can think of, no.
There's the gig we did for Peel the night that Celtic lost the UEFA Cup final. We could put that on it. But yeah.
You're not going to forget that one, are you, buddy?
No.
Nah.
Actually, this leads to another question. Stephen Tate says, lads, new album is fantastic. Congratulations. Who should be the next Celtic manager?
I'll do it.
I don't know. Anybody? Anyway.
See, I've got a very soft spot for Neil Lennon because very early on in his career as Celtic manager, he was photographed at Glasgow Airport, arriving from Northern Ireland, carrying my latest book.
Oh.
So, I mean, I've met him. He's a good guy, but he's struggling. He's struggling, and it doesn't seem to be going well. He'd probably be happier doing something else, I think. But there you go.
All right. Somebody else is asking. I mean, this is a kind of like the wrap up question, but it's not a wrap up question. I'm going to ask it because I like it. For each of you, can you give us your favourite Scottish song or band or album, just off the top of your heads? You can always regret it later. Barry.
Anything. The Yummy Fur is my favourite band. How about that? Was it? Oh yeah, that's my favourite band from Scotland.
That'll do. Dominic.
Strings and Things by the Corries is an underrated album. That's a belter of a record.
Yeah, my sister was when I was a wee kid, she was in the Corries fan club and everything, and she had Corries Live, which had these rude jokes in between. I just thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, no, really underrated band. I don't know if you can call them a band, but yeah. I've always been fond of the Corries. So
good. Right, Martin, you've had lots of time to think about this, buddy.
Terrible at these. Probably something Arab Strap, I suppose. I think they were probably my favourite Scottish band.
Sorry, I missed that. Who's that?
Arab Strap.
Arab Strap. Oh, okay. Who've got a new album coming out, I believe.
On Rock Action, no less.
Hey, any connection to you guys?
We're their bosses.
Finally,
we're all of us here are playing second fiddle tonight to a gig at the Social that Stuart just did, where he was DJing for an hour from 6 o'clock till 7 o'clock. So Stuart, you must have a few at the back of your mind. Favorite Scottish band, album, or track?
Actually, I've been doing a radio show in Australia, and I did a show just Scottish bands, and I think Arab Strap and Yummy Fur would be up there, but I'm going to go with the Mary Chain, actually. I think as much as how much they meant to me, but just also as an influence as well over so much music that I really love, from the Valentines to Space Marine 3 and everything. So yeah, Psycho Candy, Jason Mary Chain. Yeah,
it's great album. All right, I've got a question from Andrew Gregory here. I like this one as well. How did you get the opportunity to compose the music to the series 000, and how much of the story did you know before you started? I mean, so in general, when it's a soundtrack work to be had, how much? I mean, I'm guessing you actually worked from the film footage, but maybe not. I mean, Barry, do you want to start on that, and anybody can jump in?
Yeah, it depends on who's making it. Like sometimes we have very little, and sometimes we have quite a lot to work with. It's just, and the ones that you don't have a lot of, images to work with, you've just got to sort of make a big palette of like loads of different songs that would fit with certain things, and then once they start to sort of edit it, you can work out what's going to work and what isn't. And other ones, I'm trying to think the ones that we had lots of images for before.
La Revenant.
Yeah. So yeah, we had.
Oh, did we? I thought we started recording La Revenant before they didn't start filming.
Oh right. Oh yeah. I meant still images. Yeah, they hadn't made anything. They just gave us the script and loads of photos and everything.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about that was they were showing. No, they were playing the music while the actors were doing the takes to get the mood.
Were they?
Yeah.
This was all happening in French.
Yeah. To answer the thing about how we got involved with 000, Stefano, the director, just asked us. He came to a gig we were playing in Mexico City while they were filming the show, and just charmed us, asked us, and yeah, we were like, yeah, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
I'm assuming it's something you enjoy doing, or you wouldn't say yes to doing soundtracks.
Yeah, no, it's good fun actually. It's a completely different way of working with you, because you've got this other voice in your head all the time, telling you or trying to explain to you things that they might not be musicians themselves, but they're trying to explain what they need from you. So there's a bit of a dialogue about it, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. Once it's finished, there's a really big sense of achievement from it. What were you going to say, Dom?
I was going to say pretty much the same as you, but I think one of the other things that's quite different about it is usually when you're recording your own records, you're thinking about what else to add to a tune. And when you're doing the soundtrack stuff, it's all about just stripping everything right back and just keeping it really minimal, because it's always quite striking how busy things can sound really quickly and how inappropriate it is. So you always end up having to do less than you probably would instinctively want to do.
Mhm.
Okay, I've got a question here from Steve Kirk, who says you've made some comments about the working process and sitting with the songs for longer this time round. How much of the album was complete before you entered the studio?
Mm.
I can't remember.
Almost everything. We were pretty together. I mean, maybe parts here or there, but definitely most of the band could play every song from start to finish. There might be keyboard or guitar parts, but the main instrument and the drums and the bass was all sorted out before we went, I think, wasn't it?
Pretty much. No, you pretty much had a good idea of what you were. I remember writing a couple of parts in the studio, but I think I was pretty much done. If that wasn't the case, then Dominic, you totally winged it. Well done.
Yeah, you fooled us.
Well, bro, what can I say?
It's that poker face that Dominic's got.
No, Tony told me pretty much what to do through the whole thing, so that definitely helped. Don't do that. Do this.
I've seen Tony's.
I've got some praise here for Martin. What do you think, guys? Should Martin get some praise here?
Aye.
Yeah,
sure.
Just somebody saying here, the drums. I think they're talking about the fact that it took a while to get the drum set up for the producer to get the engineer to get the drum set up. The drums sound really hard, like old school hip hop on the album, so it was well worth it.
Nice one.
I'll take it.
This is something Christopher Doyle's asking something I was going to ask you anyway, because after you've got the run through of the album on the Tramway gig, we get the whole album. Very generous length of album, by the way, guys. It's over an hour long, so thanks very much for that. But at the end, we get a couple of encores, as it were. We get Like Herod, which still makes the hair stand up on the back of my head. Every time you trick me, every single time I go, I'll just turn it quiet. It's awful. I'll just keep turning it up. Suddenly your trousers are flapping. But somebody's saying here, Christopher Doyle was saying, what encouraged you to bring back How to Be a Werewolf? Because you played it on Marianne Hobbs as well, and you played it at the Tramway gig. Is it off hardcore? It's off hardcore, isn't it?
Yeah.
So why that? Because you only had 2 songs in the encore at the Tramway. Why did you choose Werewolf?
It's my wee girl's favourite song.
Martin, it's your wee girl's favourite song.
Yeah.
She also named
favourite
the
songs.
album.
I like it as well. Yeah.
She also named the album.
Yeah, she named it.
Oh, the new album. Yeah, she did.
Really?
Yeah.
The love continues.
Aye. Not bad for a 7-year-old, is it?
We're not reading. I'm not reading too much into it when I say it's almost like a response to the whole year we've had.
Yeah.
all the crap we've been going through. What's left at the end is love, really.
Oh.
It's been a really shite year.
Well,
we can't call the album that though, can we?
It wasn't until the album came along, obviously.
I know everything's brilliant now, but before that it was really crap. I actually heard a Half Man Half Biscuit song called National Shite Day earlier on. It's pretty brilliant.
I'm looking for a question here. I love Half Man Half Biscuit. I'm looking for a question here for our esteemed bassist, but instead I found another one for Martin. Good Lord, Martin. Being a drummer myself, says Max, I always was a big fan of your playing. So concise and to the point, full of restraint and yet very melodic. I think there's a question here somewhere. Hang on, let me just scroll down.
It's a bit Jim White, isn't it?
Valentine. Did you write this yourself, Martin? Did you write this yourself? Process for you to build drum track. Is it always about serving the song first? In a way, you remind me of Nick Mason, Pink Floyd. Non-intuitive playing, but tasteful, hard to replicate, and essential to the whole sound of the band. Martin Bullock, ladies and gentlemen.
I can see his face going redder.
He writes all the parts.
What?
I just play them. Barry likes them all.
That's not true at all. Take the compliments. Take the props. There you go. I don't know what you're going to say, but
He's going to say anything. I've never seen him speak. Well, I've seen him speechless before, but that's on so little drink. I've never seen him speechless before. Another question: what comes first with those songs that have got vocals? Maybe one for you, Stuart, but also Barry. You do a wee bit of vocals on the Tramway gig as well. What comes first with those songs that have got vocals? Is it in your mind that the song will have vocals from early on writing it, or does it come laterally after most of the music is written?
The words are almost always last. I think with all the songs we've had with singing, the words are last. But I think it quite early it becomes apparent quite early that the song has that kind of structure or feel. If something's got loads of like a big piano or keyboard melody or a big guitar riff, then there's not really a lot of space for vocals. So it's a lot to do with the kind of space in the music.
The vocoders that you use on the Tramway gig, I mean, they don't need the wee rubber tube anymore. I'm really sad.
No, I've never had a shot of one of them. Is it a voice box it's called or something like that?
Oh yeah, they're great.
Yeah,
Get one of those.
Yeah, but we've never had one. There was an old one that we used for Hunted by a Freak and stuff like that, and this one's a new sort of software one, and it just sounds great. But when writing those songs, the lyrics don't. There's no lyrics basically. It's just me blabbering rubbish into a microphone, but they always come quite early on in the writing process because I've probably decided to use the vocoder as one of the main things in it, and it changes every night when we play live. So
a bit like scat singing, a bit like jazz.
Yeah, it can be quite profane.
Are you going to talk about the show you did?
Very quickly.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's got a dry signal and a wet signal, and obviously it's always on wet signal because I don't want anyone to hear what I'm singing about. And I think we were in Australia or something. I forgot to turn it round to wet, and started slagging off all the people in the front row, like just really having a go at them. And I could see everyone looking at me like, you need to stop that kind of thing. And I was like, whoops. But that was the first and only time I was having a go at people in the crowd. I've never done that since.
Right.
Promise.
Man. Something I've never asked you. I mean, I've interviewed some of you before, and I've met you several times before. But I mean, you know, how did you get together? I mean, Barry, I know you were slightly after the rest of the guys here, the band formed, but I mean, it wasn't the ad in the music press or anything, was it? Was it the ad in the music press? Was it a note pinned up at us in a bar in Glasgow going bassist wanted for band? How did you get together?
Well, me and Dominic knew each other a wee bit through a mutual friend, and we'd played a few gigs together with our old bands before Mogwai, and the bands weren't really going anywhere. Our drummer moved to Australia. Don't know what happened with your band, Dominic. It just kind of fizzled out a bit, didn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty much a school band. So as soon as we all went to college and stuff like that, it just stopped. Probably for the best.
And we liked a lot of the same music, like Sonic Youth and Fugazi and that kind of thing. And we just decided to start a band, pretty much, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we didn't have a drummer for a wee while, and then I'd known Martin through school pals, and just asked Martin to come and play with us one day, and that sounded good. So we just never stopped. And then John joined a few months later. Obviously, John left a few years ago, but Barry. We met Barry when we were recording Mogwai Young Team. He worked in the studio. I don't know, did you work there? Or were you just hanging about?
No, I was just rehearsing there with
right.
Eddie and Paul.
And Barry, we got on really well, but also Barry can play loads of stuff, and we got him in to do some keys. And did you play flute on a record?
No, I didn't actually.
Just to come and play flute at the gigs?
Yeah.
First thing Barry did when I met him was made a piano set up in the live room when we were recording Young Team. And he note perfectly played the riff for Light My Fire. He's going shite. This guy, I like this guy.
Well, I mean, was that, you know, I mean, yeah, you're right, because I mean, the early singles and that, the kind of stuff collected on 10 Rapid, I mean, it's guitar driven, there's no doubt about it. So it was a conscious decision then to sort of broaden things by bringing keyboards in.
Yeah, I mean, we'd play the odd bit of keyboard, but like we were literally like.
I think I remember one of the keyboards had like tape on it to tell you what note it was and all that. One of the ones that I was using.
We'd a Bontempi that had
yeah,
tape
that's
on
right.
it. Right?
It had like gaffer tape on it so you know where to press it.
I'm pretty sure we had to tune to the Bontempi as well because it wasn't.
That's right.
Standard tuning.
Yeah.
Plenty of great pop songs being written that way.
Aye. Couple.
But again, very early on, I mean, to go back before Young Team, you know, you must have made that decision. Look, we're just going to be an instrumental band. We're not going to have a vocalist at the front of the band.
Well, we kind of at the start we had about half and half, and I think we just realised that the ones without singing were a lot better. I mean, I was only 19. I didn't really have anything to sing about, and I was quite bad at singing. I also wanted to play really, really loud, and I can't sing very loud. I mean, it's a problem I still have gigs now, but at least now we've got tons of PAs or whatever. So it just kind of made sense to do more of that. We were also getting into bands like Tortoise, so it kind of like seemed a good idea rather than just a bad one.
You were compared in the early days, I guess you were compared to bands like Slint and maybe Godspeed You Black Emperor, who didn't go heavy on the lyrics. So part of that opinion, I suppose.
Yeah, we were getting into a lot of music that didn't have a lot of lyrics, and I mean I'm not the greatest singer in the world, so I was kind of quite glad to not have to do it that much.
Yeah, but on this new album, you do some naked singing. You do some singing without the vocoder.
He was naked.
And you're all right, buddy. You're all right.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right, but it's not my main thing.
Right, I've got a question here from somebody watching. From the top of your head, what's the favourite gig you've ever played? Not necessarily the best gig you've ever played, but your favourite gig. I'm going to put that to you in a second, but I'll tell you my two favourite Mogwai gigs very quickly. One was I saw you at the Queen's Hall a fair number of years ago, and I was excited. I don't think I'd ever seen you live before, and so I was at the front. And after a couple of songs, I thought, oh, this is a wee bit loud. And I started moving back. And by the end of the gig, I was upstairs at the back, pressed against the wall, with dust from the ceiling falling on my head. And I felt the whole building was actually levitating. It was so loud.
Yeah, sorry about that. We're still quite loud, but back then we were just, it was stupid how loud we were. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, but fast forward a few years and you were doing a charity gig at the assembly rooms in Edinburgh, and I think it was, who was it set up? I think it was James Yorkston set up this charity event, and it was James Yorkston being a kind of Fife folky. He'll kick me for saying that, but it was mostly kind of singer-songwriters with acoustic guitars the first half, and I was out there watching and going, this is really good, and I looked at the side of the stage and just saw this PA system that seemed to go up to the heavens, and I thought, well, none of them are using that. What's going on? And the second half out came Mogwai, and dear God, the folk in the Shetland jumpers didn't know what had hit them.
I remember that. I remember that. That was a charity thing in memory of this guy Doogie that used to play with James. Lovely guy that died too young of cancer. Lovely person. And it was a kind of who's who of the kind of Scottish folk scene, wasn't it? And I remember we met some really legendary singer who's I can't remember, and I think she looked quite distraught at our music after like when we went on, because
anyway, right, so favorite gigs you've done. Let's start with Dominic.
One of our earliest gigs in London was supporting Pavement at the Astoria, we were first on in a 4-band bill, and I just absolutely loved Pavement, so it was a big deal to play with them and meet them, and I was just excited. It was the biggest show we'd ever done by that point, and it was like we'd maybe played to 100 people at the most, 150, and then to play at the Story, we were properly terrified, I think, but we played really fast. I remember that as well. We'd a half an hour slot, and we were pretty much done after 20 minutes. Absolutely rattled right through it, but that was great. That was a really strong memory.
I'm assuming you got to meet Pavement backstage, and they were fine.
We did. They were lovely. They were lovely. We must have been a total pain in the arse as well, because we were steaming and still very young, and I think we totally pestered them with loads of. I always ask them about really B-sides and stuff like that. It makes my eyeballs sweat when I think about it. But yeah, it was great. It was a good night.
Martin, what about you?
It's a few, three that really stand out. Albert Hall in London was incredible. I thought just being in that place kind of made it a bit, I don't really remember much of the gig. It was just the whole day was just amazing. And similarly, Jesus, what was that again? Very memorable gig, if I've forgotten it.
Think of another one then. Just think of another one.
No, but my very favourite was Glastonbury in 1999, when we sort of signed off the second stage, and there was just a sea of people there. It was incredible.
That was pure terror. I don't think any one of us remember the actual gig. We were just absolutely terrified, walking out on stage, and then the gig was over. But
it was like going to sleep, wasn't it?
Pure panic. Like somebody shot a tranquilizer dart into your neck. You woke up with that. Going, what's going
on? Barry, what about you?
It was a Primavera gig we played a long time ago. We played at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I remember getting up at like 1 o'clock in the morning after a sleep, going over to the stage, and it was when John was still in the band, and the five of us. I remember coming off the stage, and it doesn't happen that often where the five of us really had a great show, but the five of us were just like ecstatic after it. I couldn't tell you what songs we played or anything. I just remember walking down the stairs at the end, and the five of us were really, really happy. So it must be like 8 or 9 years ago, maybe longer. It was
that the night Barcelona won the European Cup?
Might have been the one before that, but I can't really remember.
I love the fact that you can sort of track everything, gigs, radio broadcasts, just through football matches.
Aye,
that were going on at the time.
It's a good job there's been no gigs this year.
How many points are you behind Rangers, Guy?
I don't even want to talk about it.
Well, let's not then. Stuart, tell us about your favourite gig.
Farlands, 1999. Like we we didn't have a lot of ambition when we started. Well, we didn't have many ambitions. We wanted to get John Peel to be played on John Peel and to play the Barrowlands. And to be honest, at that point, I presumed we'd be like first on supporting, I don't know, Mercury Rev or Teenage Fan Club or some actual big band, but we got our booking agent convinced us to play the Barrowlands when our second record came out, and I think we were all really nervous about it because we thought it would be mortifying if we were playing in this legendary venue and it wasn't full of people. And I just remember just coming out on stage and just seeing thousands of people, or I don't know how many exactly, but certainly way more people than we were expecting. And it was just one of the most amazing gigs. It was actually quite rowdy. I think like back then, like our gigs were a wee bit rowdy, and it had a kind of real.
It was a Saturday night, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So people were absolutely steaming.
Yeah, it was great though, and I remember
along not knowing which band we're playing and just want to go to a gig that night.
Pretty much.
You never know.
It's funny because one of the questions asked year was, you can sell at the Hydro now as often as you want, but can we ever see you at the Barrowland again? If you were offered that, would you take it?
Oh,
yeah.
Love
Definitely.
it. Yeah.
I've just got this. absolute fear in the back of my mind that the Subnal Hamp to the Barrowlands will get like bulldozed for flats. So I think any chance we get to play it, we'll definitely take it.
I've got a question here for me. Question for Ian. What is Rebus's favourite Mogwai album and why? For those of you who don't know me, my character Rebus is a cop in Edinburgh of a certain age. He's older than me. He's older than anybody on this evening. And the joke, this one joke in one of my books about Mogwai, which is that Rebus's colleague Siobhan, who's much younger than him, much more switched on at the music scene, lends him a Mogwai album, and she asks him what he thinks of it. And he obviously hasn't listened to it because he says, I liked the lyrics. And that's what Rebus thinks of Mogwai. I don't think he's bought an album since 1975. Oh wow! Somebody's saying they've seen you. Richard Newsom says he's seen you at Primavera several times, always brilliant and emotional. If it goes ahead this year, would you be up for a guest appearance at it?
Aye.
Yeah, I would think so.
Honestly, we play the opening of a supermarket at the moment. It's we're desperate to play any concerts.
So you always come out with the goods, don't you? That's great.
But Susan here, Susan says, Stuart is a heavier version of Vinnie Riley. I think she means in terms of your playing technique, Stuart, not your physical mass.
She's not calling me a
it would be hard to be a thinner version of Vinnie Riley. I've seen it with the matchstick.
Yeah, it's a great guitar player.
Stuart's a heavier version of Vinnie Riley. Do you boys listen to the Geruti column?
I have done, yeah, they're a good band, aye.
Yeah.
It's a great era of music. I love all the early Factory stuff's amazing. Yeah. Section 23, that's a good band.
I think I don't know if I'm right in saying this. Is Vinny? He's in quite a bad way. I think he's got some serious illness, and he would probably.
No, I'm sorry to hear
that. He's one of these other great artists who I saw play at the Queen's Hall. He wasn't as loud as you guys though, but he was very, very good.
Am I going nuts, Stuart? Are they not called Section 25? Is it Section 23? I think
they probably are called Section 25. That's a total batbot moment.
23 Skidoo. Is it not 23 Skidoo?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like a really bad football results. Stephen Daltrey says, as someone who also plays in an instrumental band, did you ever find being predominantly instrumental ever held you back, even though you achieved success from a young age? I mean, did you ever think, to get chart success, we need to vocals to be front and center, or was that never part of the plan?
I think we never really cared. I don't think we ever really thought too much about it. I mean, there's definitely Radio 6 are really supportive, but generally it's quite hard for us to get on the radio. I suppose that's the only thing, but apart from that, it's been all right, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been pretty good.
Well, guys, we're going to have to wrap up. It's been a fantastic, I don't know how long it's been, but I've enjoyed it.
All right, cheers, Ian.
At least an hour.
Thank you so much.
At least an hour. I've drank at least a bottle of wine. I think the wine's empty, so I'm going to have to go. So I'm going to go back. Either Al or AI, I think it's Al, is going to wind up. And didn't get time to show you my Mogwai earplugs or the Mogwai shrine behind me, and also the nice. The Grey Shrine and a Mogwai shrine below it. All my Mogwai merch, including Dominic bootlegs with Dominic's face on the front. I know. Shocking but true. Not with Martin yet, but Martin will be coming. We've got a fan club out there judging by tonight. Listen, guys, I want to thank you very much. But meantime, let's hand back to Al to say cheerio to all of us. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Cheers, everyone.
See you later.
Cheers.
Yeah, I would just like to say a huge and sincere thank you from all of us at Rough Trade to Mogwai and to Ian and to everyone watching at home. We will continue to present a selection of these Rough Trade Zoom webinar events, so please keep an eye on the Rough Trade Instagram, Twitter and the website, as well as the Dice Tap for more announcements. Our next Zoom Q&A event will actually be tomorrow evening with Harry Sword. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you so much again for joining us, and have a good evening.
All right, chaps. Cheers. Thank you all.
See you later.
See you all later on.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Buy the album.